Hello friends, today we'll be reading Arthur Babysits. Make sure you subscribe. Arthur's sister, DW, had a problem. The Tibble twins are visiting again and they are driving me crazy, she said. They're everywhere I go. Oh, they can't be that bad, said Arthur. How would you know? Said DW. Later that afternoon, Arthur and DW took Kate for a walk. Look, shouted the Tibble twins. There's DW. Oh no, said DW. Quick, let's hide. Mrs. Tibble looked worried. I'm in a terrible pickle, she said. I need a sitter for my grandsons tonight. And I can't find one anywhere. Arthur can do it, said DW. He babysits me all the time. Oh, Arthur, you're a lifesaver, said Miss Tibble. I'll call your mother and set it up right now. Babysitting is such a big responsibility, said Arthur. I'm a little nervous. You'll do a fine job, said Mother. We'll be right here if you want to call us, said Father. Here's my crash helmet, said DW. You'll need it. Why? Asked Arthur. Are you coming along? You think I'm trouble, said DW. Just wait. On the way, Arthur walked by the sugar bowl. Hey, Arthur, called Buster. Where are you going? I'm on my way to babysit for Mrs. Tibble, said Arthur. Not the terrible Tibble twins, gasped Prunella. My sister babysitted for them once, and once was enough. You can always back out, said Buster, while you're still alive. Don't worry, said Francine. It'll be just like babysitting DW and baby Kate. Arthur remembered what that was like. Now he was really worried. Miss Tibble was waiting for Arthur. I'm so glad you're here, she said, and so are the twins. This is little Tommy in red and Timmy's in blue. Almost bedtime. Darlings, I'll be back soon. Very soon, I hope, said Arthur. Night-night, Grammy, said the twins sweetly. She's gone, screamed the twins. Playtime. No, bedtime, said Arthur. We're not sleepy, said Timmy. The phone rang. It was DW. I called with some advice, she said. Calm them down with quiet games, like cards. Thanks, said Arthur. Bye. How about a nice quiet game of cards? Asked Arthur. Great, said the twins. We know a really good card game, said Tommy. 52 pickup, they screamed. Just then, the phone rang again. It was DW. They're out of control, she said. You need to show them who's boss. Thanks a lot, said Arthur. Let's play cowboys, said Tommy. I'll be the sheriff, said Arthur, because I'm the boss. And we'll be the bad guys, said Timmy. The next time the phone rang, Timmy answered it. Arthur can't come to the phone right now, he said. He's all tied up. Time for hide and seek, called Tommy. You'll never find us. When Arthur finally got loose, he searched and searched. If I don't find them soon, he thought, I'll be in big trouble. Just then, the phone rang again. What's going on over there? Asked DW. Shouldn't they be in bed? I can't talk now, said Arthur. I'm looking for the twins. You mean you lost them? Shouted DW. Not exactly, he said. I just can't find them. "You're in really big trouble," said DW. "What are you going to do?" Just then, Arthur noticed the curtains wiggling. "You'll see," he said. "I sure hope I find them before the Swamp Thing does," he added loudly. "Swamp Thing?" asked Tommy from behind the curtains. "Yes, the one that comes out on nights just like tonight," said Arthur. "Sit down, and I'll tell you about it." Arthur used his spookiest voice. "Once in a dark, spooky swamp, there lived a horrible, big, slimy, stinky, green swamp thing," he began. "You mean like a monster?" Timmy asked meekly. "Exactly," said Arthur. "With long, sharp teeth." And the swamp thing realized it was very, very hungry, said Arthur. "It left the swamp in search of dinner." "What did it like to eat?" Timmy asked in a shaky voice. "Boys," said Arthur. "Especially twin boys." The twins moved close to Arthur. "The swamp thing begun to moan from hunger," continued Arthur, "until it came to a big old house just like this one." "I hear footsteps," cried Timmy. "It's only your imagination," said Arthur. "Want to sit on my lap?" "Well, just for a minute," said Timmy. "Slowly," whispered Arthur. With its big, slimy green hands, the swamp thing opened the front door. "I smell dinner," it said. It licked its lips. "Help!" screamed the twins. "It's coming in our front door!" yelled Timmy. Just then, the door did open, and the light went on. "I'm home," said Mrs. Tibble. "And look at my little angels. Arthur must be a wonderful babysitter. He's not scared of anything," said Timmy. "And he tells great stories too," said Tommy. "We want him to babysit again." The twins hugged Arthur goodnight. Then Miss Tibble paid Arthur and thanked him for doing such a fine job. When Arthur got home, DW was still up. "You're home early," she said. "Did you get fired?" "No," said Arthur. "Babysitting isn't so bad. Miss Tibble thinks I'm pretty good at it. Now she wants me to babysit the twins every afternoon right here at our house. And since you know so much about babysitting, you can help." The end. That was a great story about Arthur babysitting. Sometimes we babysit our siblings, or sometimes we babysit our cousins, or sometimes we babysit a friend of the family's. Babysitting is a great responsibility. Take it serious. And just like Arthur, you can have fun babysitting. Friends, thank you for reading with me, and let's read some more. Make sure you always remember that reading is fun, so think smart and read. Friends, today we'll be reading Arthur Meets the President. Make sure you subscribe. "Listen carefully, class," said Mr. Ratburn. "This is a national contest, so do your best work." "I love contests," said Muffy. "What do I win?" "The winner visits the White House in Washington," said Mr. Ratburn. "What do we write about?" asked Arthur. "The subject is how I can help make America great," said Mr. Ratburn. Everyone started writing. Arthur started thinking. He thought about the time he and DW helped old Mrs. Tibble clean her yard. He thought about how much more they could do in the neighborhood if the whole class helped. Then he began to write. Weeks later, when Mr. Haney, the principal, was opening the mail, his hands began to shake. "It's a letter from the president," he gasped. Mrs. Tingley, the secretary, fainted. Prunella, who was in the office with a stomachache, suddenly got better. "Open it!" she shouted. Mr. Haney clicked on the PA system. "Attention, everyone. The President of the United States has written to announce the winner of the How I Can Help Make America Great contest. And the winner is our very own Arthur. He and his class are invited to attend a special ceremony at the White House." Mr. Ratburn's class went wild. "Congratulations, Arthur," said Mr. Ratburn. "You'll have to work hard to memorize your paper so you can recite it to the president next Wednesday." "Memorize? Recite?" asked Arthur. "Of course," said Mr. Ratburn. "We'll all be there cheering you on." "You're on TV!" screamed DW when Arthur got home. "Listen! He will recite his winning essay to the president and all of America," the announcer was saying. "I feel sick," said Arthur. "Not as sick as you'll feel when you give your speech," said DW. "There's so much to do before we leave," said Mother. "Arthur, you'll need a new suit." "What about me?" asked DW. "I need to look beautiful when I meet the president." "The president is very busy," explained Father. "He'll only have time to meet Arthur and hear him recite his essay." "If I can remember it," said Arthur. "Of course you can," said Father. "Just relax. Pretend I'm the president and practice right now." The thought of sitting next to the president made Arthur's mind go blank. He said. "Uh-oh," said DW. Monday at school, everyone was busy planning the trip. "Oh boy, no homework for 3 days," said Francine. "Not quite," said Mr. Ratburn. Everyone groaned. "Each of you will have to do a report," he explained. "As we tour Washington on Wednesday, you will be our guides. So get to work. I'll see you all at the airport tomorrow morning." Arthur tried to study his speech on the plane. "Don't forget to mention me to the president for the Teacher of the Year award," Mr. Ratburn reminded him. "Aren't you excited?" asked Buster. "I'm too nervous to be excited," said Arthur. "You need help?" said DW. "I'll make the speech for you. I have a lot of ideas about how to run the country." That night at the hotel, Arthur was too weary to sleep. "What in the world are you doing?" asked Father. "What if I forget my speech and the president laughs at me?" asked Arthur. "The president would never laugh at you," said Father. "Why don't you write your speech on note cards and keep them in your pocket?" he suggested, "just in case." "What a great idea," said Arthur. He felt much better. "Now try not to worry and go to sleep," said Mother. The next morning, everyone met in front of the Jefferson Memorial. "Arthur, you look so handsome," said Francine. "Ready to meet the president?" said Mr. Ratburn. "I guess," said Arthur. He reached into his pocket to make sure the note cards were there. Time for reports, called Mr. Ratburn. Only one more hour until we're due at the White House. Our first stop is the Washington Monument, the tallest building in Washington, explained Francine. 898 steps to the top. Everyone ready? Are you kidding? Said DW. I'm taking the elevator. This is the Capitol, where Congress makes the nation's laws, said Sue Ellen. I think we all know how important it is to obey the law, said Mr. Ratburn. The National Museum of Natural History has great mummies, said Buster. Follow me. No thanks, said Muffy. I'll meet you at the gift shop. The last stop was the White House. It's so big, said Arthur. Not as big as Muffy's house, said DW. The White House has 132 rooms, said the brain. Every president except George Washington has lived here. It has a barbershop, clinic, indoor pool, theater, gym, and its own library. And the president's office has fancy gold curtains just like the ones in our living room, said Muffy. Excuse me, said the president's security. The president is arriving. Please follow me to the Rose Garden. Arthur gulped. It was almost time. He took out his note cards. Suddenly, a strong wind blew through the garden. Here comes the president, squealed Muffy. My speech, gasped Arthur. Relax, said Mr. Ratburn. You'll be fine. DW wasn't so sure. She had a plan. Arthur had never seen so many important looking people. Good afternoon, Mr. President, he began. When I think about what I can do to make America great, Arthur began to feel very warm. His knees began to shake. His mind went blank. This is the worst day of my life, he thought. Suddenly, Buster giggled. Soon everyone else joined in. Even the president was laughing. Arthur turned bright red, and when Arthur saw what they were laughing at, he laughed too. Now Arthur felt much better. He recited his whole speech without forgetting a single word. In conclusion, he said, we can all help make America great by helping others. Good, said DW. Then help me down. The end. That was a great story, friends. Meeting someone special can always be sometimes nervous, but the best thing to do is continue to have confidence. Friends, I want you always to have confidence in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. And also, remember to continue to read because reading is fundamental. So think smart and read. Hello, friends. Today we'll be reading Arthur's Teacher Trouble. Make sure you subscribe. The bell rang. The first day of school was over. Kids ran out of every classroom. Everyone but room 13. Here, the students filed out slowly in alphabetical order. See you tomorrow, said their teacher, Mr. Ratburn. I can't believe he gave us homework the first day, said Arthur. I had the rat last year, said Prunella. Boy, do I feel sorry for you. Make one wrong move, warned Binky Barnes, and he puts you on death row. He's really a vampire with magical powers, said Chris. As everyone was leaving, the principal came out of his office. "Are you ready for the September Spellathon?" he asked. "Yes!" cheered the crowd. "Who's going to win this year?" asked the principal. "Me!" everyone shouted. "If I win again this year, do I get my name on the trophy twice?" asked Prunella. "Not if I can help it," whispered Francine. When Arthur got home, he slammed the back door. "How was school?" Mother asked. "I got the strictest teacher in the whole world," grumbled Arthur. "Have a chocolate chip cookie," said Mother. "Don't have time," said Arthur. "I have tons of homework." "I'll eat Arthur's," said DW. "I don't have any homework." "You don't even go to school," said Arthur. "I know." DW smiled. After dinner, Arthur was still doing homework. "What's that?" asked DW. "It's a map of Africa," said Arthur. "Looks like a pepperoni pizza," said DW. "Next year, when I'm in kindergarten, I won't have any homework. Miss Meeker never gives it." "Mom!" called Arthur. "DW's being a pest." "Time for bed," said Mother. "You can finish your map of Florida in the morning." "Africa," said Arthur. The next day, Mr. Ratburn announced a spelling test for Friday. "I want you to study very hard," he said. "The test will have 100 words." Buster looked pale. "And," continued Mr. Ratburn, "the 2 students with the highest scores will represent our class at the all-school Spellathon." That week, everyone in Arthur's class studied harder than ever. Arthur spent a lot of time looking for quiet places to study. Suddenly, it was Friday, and time for the test. Arthur could smell Mrs. Sweetwater's class making popcorn. He could hear Mrs. Fink's class leaving for a trip to the aquarium. "Why did we have to get stuck with the rat?" he whispered to Francine. Mr. Ratburn corrected their papers during lunch. "Class," he said, "most of you did very well on the test, but only 2 of you spelled every word correctly." Muffy smiled. Francine hiccuped. Buster patted his good luck charm. Mr. Ratburn cleared his throat. "Our class representatives for the Spellathon will be the Brain and Arthur." "There must be some mistake," said Muffy. Mr. Ratburn gave Arthur and the Brain each a special list of words. "Just study these, and you'll be ready for the Spellathon in 2 weeks," he said. Arthur's family helped him study. Grandma asked Arthur his spelling words. "How about your CHORES?" Father asked. "Have you made your BED?" Mother added. DW helped too. When Francine and Buster came over, DW answered the door. "Arthur can't play, but I can," she said. "I don't have to study." "I can't believe the Spellathon is finally here," said Grandma. "Maybe now we'll get a little peace and quiet," DW said. "Good luck, Arthur," said Mother and Father. From backstage, Arthur could hear the whole school out in the auditorium. "Well, today's the big day," said Mr. Ratburn. "How do you feel?" "I feel fine," the Brain answered. Arthur gulped. "I wish I were still back in bed." The principal welcomed everyone and explained the rules. The Brain had the first turn. He stepped up to the microphone. "The first word is fear," said the principal. F-E-R-E, said the brain, a little too quickly. I'm sorry, said the principal. That's not correct. Are you sure? Asked the brain. What dictionary are you using? The brain wasn't the only one to drop out quickly. The representatives from Mrs. Sweetwater's and Mrs. Fink's class were gone in a flash. Before long, only Arthur and Pernella were left. It was Pernella's turn. The word is preparation, said the principal. Pernella looked down at her feet. Could I have the definition, please? She asked after a moment. Preparation. The principal repeated. The process of getting ready. Of course, said Pernella. P-R-E-P. She paused. E-R-A-T-I-O-N. I'm sorry, that's incorrect, said the principal. Now Arthur gets a chance to spell it. Arthur looked out over the audience and took a deep breath. Preparation, he said. P-R-E-P-A-R-A-T-I-O-N. Correct, said the principal. Everyone in Mr. Ratburn's class cheered. Then Mr. Ratburn went to the microphone. I'm very proud of Arthur, he said. In fact, I'm proud of my whole class. They worked very hard. This is the last third grade I'll have in the spellathon. But next year, I look forward to a new challenge. Teaching kindergarten. The end. Well, friends, that's all for now. We'll be back with more books, maybe more Arthur books also. Spelling and reading sometimes come hand in hand. I'm glad Arthur was a good speller, and I'm glad he can win the spelling bee. Friends, always remember, reading is fundamental, so think smart and read. Hello, friends. Today we'll be reading Arthur's Tooth. Make sure you subscribe. Finally, Arthur had a loose tooth. He wiggled it with his tongue. He wiggled it with his finger. He wiggled it all the time. One afternoon, while Arthur was wiggling his tooth doing math, he heard a loud scream. Francine jumped up. My tooth just fell out on my desk, she cried. Class, how many of you have lost a tooth? Asked Mr. Marco. Everyone but Arthur raised their hands. When Arthur got home, he didn't want any milk and cookies. What's the matter, Arthur? His mother asked. I'm the only one in my class who still has all his baby teeth, he complained. Don't worry, said his sister D.W. Before you know it, all your teeth will fall out, and you can get false teeth like Grandma Thora. Arthur persuaded father to make a special dinner for him. Steak, corn on the cob, and peanut brittle. I can't believe one little tooth can take so long to fall out, said father. The next day, Muffy brought in a whole jar of her teeth for show and tell. I got $2 for each one, she said. One from my dad and one from my mom. I put it all in the bank to earn interest. I'm waiting for my investment to double. Not me, said Francine. I'm spending mine. Later, the class saw a movie called Nasty Mr. Tooth Decay. Between the ages of 4 and 7, the announcer begun, everyone begins to lose their deciduous or baby teeth. Everyone except Arthur, shouted Francine. The whole class laughed. Arthur slid down in his seat. He wiggled his tooth as hard as he could. In the cafeteria, Francine practiced her new tricks. Look, she said, I can keep my teeth closed and still drink through a straw. And I can squirt water too. Everybody lined up for a squirting contest. Everybody except Arthur. Babies with baby teeth can't squirt water. By the next day, Arthur was convinced his loose tooth would never fall out. His friends tried to help. Buster brought carrots for Arthur's lunch. Sue Ellen showed Arthur how to put raisins over his teeth to make it look as if some were missing. The brain invented a special machine. It's a tooth remover, he explained. Just put your head in here. Even Binky Barnes wanted to help. I can knock that tooth out in 1 second flat, he said. That night, Arthur spent a lot of time in front of the bathroom mirror. He got up very early the next morning to wiggle his tooth again. See how much looser it is? He told his parents. That's it, said his mother. You need professional help. You're going to the dentist today. Going to the dentist? Asked Francine. Boy, do I feel sorry for you. There were other patients waiting to see Dr. Socio. Sorry, said the nurse. We're running late. Have a seat. Arthur, you were smart to bring a book, said Mother. Finally, it was Arthur's turn. I wish all my patients were as good at waiting as you are, said Dr. Socio. How old are you now, Arthur? 7, said Arthur, and I still have all my baby teeth. I was 8 before I lost my first tooth, said Dr. Socio. Everyone is different. Really? Said Arthur. Dr. Socio examined Arthur's loose tooth. This one should fall out very soon, he said. Just wait. Arthur got back to school just in time for recess. Still have all your baby teeth? Francine asked. Then you can't be in the game. I'm the tooth fairy. Only people who have lost teeth can play. If you're the tooth fairy, said Arthur, I think I'll keep all my teeth. I can wait. He started over to the softball game. Whoever I touch, said Francine, loses a tooth. She flapped her arms. The one who loses the most wins. Francine twirled around and touched Buster. She twirled faster and touched Sue Ellen. Twirling even faster, she slipped and hit Arthur. Sorry, Arthur, Francine said, but I told you, no babies allowed. Arthur picked up his glasses. It's okay, he said. It's probably the nicest thing you've ever done for me. What do you mean? Asked Francine. Arthur just smiled. The end. Friends, losing teeth or losing a tooth is a part of growing up. I myself started losing teeth around 6, 7, and by 9, I had lost a lot of teeth. But don't be ashamed if you haven't lost any teeth yet. Moving forward, always remember, reading is fundamental. So think smart and read.